mean, the obvious difference from last year is Lukaku. And as you know, we've had this conversation with Ogden as well. I think Lukaku has added a whole other dimension to his game, which maybe was there before, but people didn't trust him on it, which is he's a tremendous provider. He's so aware of the people around him. And last season, he formed a devastating partnership with Lautaro Martinez. And I wondered when I saw Werner in there and the three midfielders, I thought to myself, all right, maybe he's trying to do this. Yeah. Werner can do some of the things that Lautaro does. But then it occurred to me, the rest of the team. Because last year, Inter's three midfielders had people like Barella and Eriksson who could pass, who could play through a press.
Yeah.
You had Hakimi in a wide area, right? Who's basically a one-man attacking machine. Whereas this Chelsea team, Jorginho is going to play from deep. Kovacic can run with the ball occasionally. Conte, we've seen it occasionally, but just in terms of individual technical quality to play through a press, that's not there in this Chelsea midfield. So,
and they never did it.
And they didn't even try to do it.
Yeah, and they were too deep. And I felt for Lukaku, and Nedum and I talked about after the game as well, and we said, what's the point of having Lukaku in your team if the way you set up and your game plan leaves him so isolated up front that he will hardly touch the ball, and even when he does, he will have, as we said, Ruben Dias or Laporte behind him and then Rodri in front of him.
Well, should Werner have been closer to him?
Oh, but then if you play that front two like this, like Lautaro and Lukaku, Lautaro was the one playing almost as a 9.5, and he has to drop. Werner cannot do that. Werner cannot control the ball with his back to goal with a big, strong centre-half behind him. This is not his game. His game is to run in behind and use that space.
So get Havertz to do it.
But that's why it was not just the setup wrong. I think it was even the personnel wrong in what Tuchel tried to do. And because they played so deep, the ball never came to Lukaku, apart from the last 20 minutes maybe when Loftus-Cheek came on and made a bit of a difference, because at least finally someone was running with the ball, trying to make a difference. And I think the whole block played a bit higher because they were 1-0 down and they had to go for it anyway. But I just thought it was so disappointing tactically, from a tactical point of view, from Tuchel and Chelsea to started the game that way.
Nedum, as a defender, can you talk a little bit about how it changes playing against a front two versus a one in a situation like this, especially a situation where the strikers are kind of isolated? Because this was a theme, and we're going to talk about Liverpool and Brentford later, but it felt like this was a theme in that game too, where essentially Liverpool centre backs were 2-on-2 against Tony and Boma.
Yeah. I think it depends. It depends on the two, because with Werner and Lukaku, one thing we can say, which is off the back of what Jules said, like Werner's not great coming in short. He's somebody who wants to play into the space and stuff like this. But for City, what they did well on the weekend was the fact that they controlled the service into him by the press, which they initiated from the very top. So the players who were going to be playing it forward, it wasn't uncontested, because these are great players. They can play great balls. They can have encouragement. People can make runs, but Werner can make a run. But if the person that's about to play the ball has got somebody standing in his face, then it's a different matter. So for some of those 2v2 type battles, if your front line aren't working well enough defensively, then it's a lot harder, because you are isolated, and then you need to be really good 1v1 in terms of how you defend, because we saw that a couple of times with City. Like when Lukaku really isolated on Ruben Dias or Laporte on a couple of occasions, like he was able to roll them, win a free kick or something like that. But that's when Chelsea were able to play a nice quality ball into him, because they were uncontested in doing so. But for City, and other teams, if you can get it right in terms of defending from the front, then the 2v2 at the back doesn't really feel that dangerous. But then the flip side of that, if Chelsea normally played the normal way with a striker and maybe 2 10s, as the defender, then you can't you have to take the 2v1 with the striker, especially if it's someone like Lukaku. But then you have 2 10s who are in between you and the midfield. So whose responsibility is it? Can I go there? Probably not. Can the midfielder drop in there? Well, if they do, then it allows the team to bring the ball forward in a more comfortable manner. So tactically, it's a lot harder to deal with that system, I feel, as opposed to the 2v2, where you can just go and press them high and limit the quality. So it's, as I say, there's no hard and fast rule in terms of which how to deal with something or whatever. But I think City in this game got it right, because from the front, they just made sure that the quality going forward to Chelsea's most attacking players, who I think they were going to be relied upon a lot, because you looked at the team. Like when I saw the teams, I thought where the goal's going to come from for Chelsea in open play, and I saw Lukaku-Werner and maybe Alonso. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all I saw. So if you can take out two, then you know what they're going to do, and yeah, that's why we probably saw Chelsea's worst performance of the season, in my opinion.
The press was amazing. I mean, being at the stadium, and we were really, as you know, at Stamford Bridge, so close to the pitch and just behind the Chelsea bench. The press at that level, on almost like you feel you're on it on the pitch, was just incredible. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne came off. He walked towards us. He was so red. I thought his head was going to explode because he ran so much. It was unreal. I've never seen him so red, and he looked like he could not even walk anymore. And Bernardo Silva, who I thought had an incredible game, because he's so useful in those kind of setup for City, because he runs everywhere. He's so quality on the ball. He's so intelligent. He can see where he has to run to either get the ball or close that space and things like this, which is just perfect. But their press and counter press was just out of this world, really out of this world. And I'm just thinking, I don't know if they can repeat that every 3 days. So PSG on Tuesday, do it again. Liverpool at the weekend, do it again, do the same. Or if they did it so well because the setup from Chelsea helped them. Because that 2-4-4, if Chelsea play the usual 3-4-3, you can't. Pep cannot say to Laporte and Diaz, okay, you just stay, because they will have obviously 3 players. Right. So that played into Pep's hand and City, and they were so amazing at it. But physically, to do that time and time and time again would be exceptional.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.